Welcome to episode 51 of Believe in TCU. As part of the Believe Network, I'm Zion Trammell, joined by Seth Dowdle. Today, we've got a lot of topics to talk about regarding college football and the Big 12 in particular. On Tuesday and Wednesday, Big 12 Media Days happened at the Star in Frisco, Texas. A much more convenient spot than Las Vegas last year, at least for me, who lives in Dallas Fort Worth. I was able to go this year for TCU on SI. It was a lot of fun. I didn't go on Tuesday. I went on Wednesday, and that's when TCU was there along with 7 other Big 12 schools. And it was a lot of fun, very interactive. It was a chance to be personal with the players and just kind of ask fun questions. You know, I got to ask some of the guys for TCU, like, what's their thoughts on their college football ranking? They got to play it early and stuff, and it was a really good opportunity. Lots of media there, obviously. I'm
Really?
I was, yes. Would you believe it if I said there's a lot of media?
Wow.
But like Bleacher Report was there, and then I'm walking and Matt Berry from ESPN just walks right by me. He's like a host for college football shows and Baseball Tonight on ESPN. I'm like, oh, okay, I know that guy.
And notorious Arizona State fan as well, Matt Berry.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a very fun moment during the College World Series. Arizona lost to who they play? I think they played Coastal in their first game,
I
the
think
College
so.
World
Yeah.
Series. And the game ends, and then they go to Sports Center right after, and Matt Berry's hosting. He goes, Coastal beats Arizona, blah blah blah. What a shame. And then he just keeps
What a shame. Oh my gosh. That rivalry between Arizona and Arizona State is real. It's real for sure. Yeah, there's so much to break down. Coaches were talking about NIL, revenue sharing, bunch of different topics about that. I think that we're gonna table that for another episode because I think we could talk about that for a long time. And some of the coaches had pretty strong opinions, including Sonny Dykes. I'll just say that, and it's a stance that I tend to agree with. But representing TCU, the players included Josh Hoover, Colton Deary, Eric McAllister on the offense, and then they brought 3 defensive players, Bud Clark, Devin Deal, and Namdi Obiazor. So I want to start on the defensive side of the ball because I was able to talk to Namdi and all three of those guys on the defensive side of the ball, and they feel really good about where their defense is heading next season with Andy Avalos returning. That was kind of a big thing for them to be able to have that consistency with them returning. I'm just going to play a clip from my conversation with them. I don't know how good it's going to sound, but we'll see. So I asked them basically, what does it feel to have Andy Avalos returning?
Returning. How important is that for you guys? I feel like that's real big. You kind of even look towards how last season ended. Like the last games were better than the first few games just because people are getting more comfortable in the roles. So now I feel like we have a whole another year, a whole another spring ball. Now we get to come in for this year. It should be real good for everybody.
Same thing. I mean, basically what Nandy said, and then just like you said, knowing and being able to go. Like I feel like we know the basics of the defense, so we're able to add more exotics, more complicated things, as well as just play faster. When you know what you're doing, you can just react and go play. So I'm excited.
I think that's kind of a lot of the conversation about the defense yesterday is the comfortability with it and being a lot more exotic. Sonny Dykes was talking about having, they have like 6 or 7 cornerbacks that they feel confident in, and that can allow them to be a lot more exotic. So I think pretty high expectations for the defense, which we'll see a lot of returners.
Yeah, and they mentioned it, right? Like last year at the start, it was a little rocky, right? And to say the least.
Yeah.
It was the run game defense was a sieve, and to be quite honest with you, that was not entirely patched up toward the end of the season. I mean, you look at the Baylor game; it was just a total, just running through the split Red Sea over and over again. I think Baylor almost ran for 300 yards in that game, and TCU was still only 3 points away from winning it. But you look toward the end, and for the most part, overall, things improved vastly. You could tell that players were a lot more comfortable, and I think that is the theme that everyone's hoping carries over. We heard that a lot in the spring during spring practice, and now we're hearing it now in media days that people feel more comfortable with Andy Alves' defense, and should hopefully, we should get off to a better start for 2025. I will caution, though, this was a talking point during the 2023 offseason with Joe Gillespie's defense coming off of 2022, where there were some concerns about the defense, even though that defense kind of vastly overperformed, in my opinion, that maybe players would be a lot more comfortable. And season 2 of Joe Gillespie's defense was vastly inferior to season 1. So it could go either way. I would lean towards more improvement because we saw that improvement happening toward the end of the season. And I think the players, obviously they're going to be confident and speak, that they're not going to be pessimistic about the outlook of the season here in July. But hearing them say that they're, looking forward to maybe doing some more things with the defensive scheme that's definitely good to hear.
Yeah, and I heard that a lot last year. Is just they seem to really like Coach Avalos a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and talking about that secondary a little bit. You do have experience. Obviously, they have some younger guys that they might be able to that might get in there. But Channing Canada, senior, Javon McIver, I believe I'm saying that right. I'm not sure, is a senior. Avery Helm is a senior. Elijah Jackson. So they have a lot of guys that are experienced, and then not to mention in his 6th season, Bud Clark, as a safety back there is definitely going to help. Gotta say, Bud Clark, easily my favorite guy to interview. Has just consistently been very present and very energetic, and just happy to be there. And really liked talking to Bud Clark. He's a good interview.
Lucky for you, he'll be here forever.
He might be at this point. He might be here for the remainder of time. I think I'll be okay with that.
Yes, as long as he continues to be the highest rated Horned Frog in EA College Football 26. He can stay here for as long as he wants.
Yes, I did ask Bud Clark about his college football rating, which was a 92 overall. It is the highest on TCU. He was pretty juiced about it. He was. We had EA College Football. Their booth was right next to us, so they had college football playing, and the mascots were playing it at first, and then the players got in there, and Bud Clark was playing it, and he was pretty humble about his rating, but it was fun to get to ask that, kind of hear them get a little more personal about it. I think Josh Hoover's an 87. He is. Him and Eric McAllister are the second highest at an 87 overall.
Hype stuff. Play as the Frogs, guys. You might win the Big 12.
You might. And Eric McAllister was another guy we got to talk to. Really, it's kind of an interesting wide receiver group. That's something I wanted to get into now with the departures of Jack Besh and Savion Williams and JP Richardson. Your top 3 guys are all gone. But I think if anything we've learned from Josh Hoover in his time at TCU is he gets guys involved. And Eric McAllister, you couldn't tell that he was the number 4 wide receiver last year with the production that he was able to put up. Especially, I believe it was towards the end of last season where he had some really monster games for the Frogs.
The bowl game in particular. Yeah.
Yeah, in the bowl game against in the New Mexico Bowl. I
Against
almost said against New
Louisiana.
Mexico. Yeah, not against New Mexico. It was in the New Mexico Bowl.
Can
He
you
had a
believe
very
we were in the
good
New Mexico Bowl?
I can't. I really can't. I feel like we got done dirty a little bit, Seth. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, it was. I wanted to ask him a little bit about kind of that role change, if there is really any. And he said it's not really. It's kind of business as usual. It's just you know now he's moved up in the depth chart, but he didn't really feel like a wide receiver 4. And so I think that's uh, I'm very excited to see what we could be getting out of Eric McAllister this season, because I think he's totally capable of handling an increased role, because he got the ball a lot for being out of the top 3 wide receivers last season.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at the stats, right? 39 catches, 762 yards, 5 tutties. Like, that's not number 4. And that just kind of shows you how much they threw the ball last year. They threw it a lot. And I expect that kind of to, continue this season. But as you said, like, if this is the trend, right? If Eric McAllister is your number 4, imagine what Josh Hoover is going to be able to do when he spreads the wealth around this season, maybe with a bit more, unknown with the rest of the receiving core. But you got to think that no matter what, no matter who he's throwing to, he's going to find ways to get people involved. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Eric McAllister takes this elevated role. I mean, he was, whenever he was at Boise State, prior to coming here, and he was pretty involved during his during the 2023 season. 873 receiving yards and 47 catches. So, got to think that can come back to life here a little bit, and even more so.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention the additions of Jordan Dwyer from Idaho, Joseph Manjack from Houston. Josh Hoover spoke highly about both of those guys. Manjack at 6'3", 205, Dwyer 6 foot wide receiver. There are a variety of options for Josh Hoover to go to. So I think there's I think for me, the secondary and the wide receiver group, to me, are two of the things that get me really excited about this upcoming season for sure.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of reports as well that TCU really likes how deep their linebacker room is this year as well, which has kind of been a spot of soreness, I would say. I don't know if I've ever watched a TCU football season where the linebackers stay healthy, and eventually we're down to like Joe Schmo is starting in the middle. So, and this kind of goes back to that whole theme of they expect a lot out of this defense. They really like the group. You mentioned the secondary, right? Like, if this is what it's built up to be, then this should be one of the better defenses, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that TCU's had in a little while.
Hopefully. Health is obviously something that is absolutely critical, but I feel good about this TCU defense. Obviously, on the offense, you feel good with Hoover being able to drop back and sling it, and the passing offense is going to be important. But Sonny Dykes, it was asked about the running game. So is Colton Deary, because to be honest, the running game sucked last season. It was not good at all, and so I think that question is going to be coming up a lot. But Colton, who will be the starting center for TCU this season, feels like that they can hopefully change up some things with the running game. He was also a great interview as well. Really, really nice guy. He's telling me that he's playing Mario Kart, the new Mario Kart, with some of his
Switch
teammates.
2?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Some of his teammates.
He's got money like that if he can buy a Switch 2.
Yeah, he must, or somebody on the team has it. I don't know if it's him or but they were just saying that he was just saying that they were playing that. Yeah, it's just stuff like that I really enjoyed with Big 12 Media Day. Getting to talk to the guys like that and, getting to know them a little bit more.
Well, yeah, and like they're not in season mode yet, so their guards are a bit more down, so they can maybe be a bit more honest and open. Same with Sonny Dykes, right? Like it's July 10th right now as we're recording it. This was July 9th that they had Big 12 Media Days at TCU, and I mean the season doesn't start for TCU until September 1st. Golly, put on a Monday.
Yeah.
And so there's still a little while until they really got to get into that mindset. So it's a really unique time to talk to people.
It is. The coaches are more laid back.
Maybe a little bit too laid back, Scott Frost. Let's not be as honest here.
Yeah, he was very laid back. I didn't, Mike Gundy was pretty chill too, which was weird to see.
Yeah, usually Mike Gundy is always in the weird limbo space between super laid back and chill, and also like I might rip all y'all's heads off in this press conference.
Yeah, it was cool. They had eight coaches from the 8 teams that were there yesterday, kind of having a round table, just talking about revenue sharing and talking about the taking shots at other schools, just saying, I have a lot of respect for these coaches here, and I just know that there's some out there that don't do things the right way. It's like, do tell, like, who are we talking about here, guys? Like, who is it that we're
Yeah, I know.
that we're talking about here? It was fun. It was definitely a really cool experience. Just being surrounded by media from other schools, and I got to talk to people from Texas Tech, from BYU, so it was pretty sweet. Seth, I wish you were there, man.
I wish I was too. I was actually in Frisco at the Star on Tuesday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were just walking around.
Oh, okay. You were
Totally forgot that Big 12 Media Days had happened like hours before. I was like standing in front of the Ford Center. I was like, oh.
Yeah. You could have been walking by Baylor and Texas. You could have been walking. Dave Aranda could have walked right past you.
Dave Aranda. A lot of thoughts on Baylor. That's a little sneak peek for in a minute. But I do have one thought about the location of this Big 12 Media Day. You mentioned last year's in Las Vegas. I feel like it's a bit, one step forward, 2 steps back when it comes to location of these things in the Big 12. Big 12 Media Day, Las Vegas last year. I think we can all say that is objectively a bad place to have Big 12 Media Day, given that there are no teams west of Salt Lake City in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Then they move it back here. I'd say this is a great place. It's in the middle pretty much of everything. Big 12 headquarters are in Irving. It makes sense to have it close to where the headquarters are. And also, this is in the middle for a lot of places. That's good. Bad. Moving the Big 12 baseball tournament to Phoenix. Bad.
Brett Yormark was standing like 10 feet away from me a couple times. I should have just told him that. Hey, move it back to Arlington.
Or anywhere else.
Or yeah, that's true. Anywhere else would be great.
Kansas City would actually be fine.
Yeah. That would have been okay.
They have this weird fascination with like the West Coast now that they've gotten like we have Arizona schools and Utah schools and Colorado schools. It's like, guys, they're not the main target audience here. They're here because they decided to blow up their own conference.
Yeah, we shouldn't accommodate them.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep everything in Dallas. Everything. Move the White House here. Move everything here.
That would make things either a lot easier for us in the sports world or very chaotic.
A pain in the butt.
Yeah. But it was great. No shade to Brett Yormark, by the way. I think I think he's a great commissioner for the Big 12. He does a great job. And it was cool seeing him there, talking about the Big 12. And he thinks multiple Big 12 teams deserve a college football playoff bid next season.
Can we talk about that real fast?
Yeah.
I do have thoughts on this.
I heard him talk about that. I was like, oh, okay.
Realistically, how is that happening?
It won't, because part of the problem is the Big 12 teams, there's a lot of parity. We almost have too much parity in this conference that teams just kind of beat up on each other because there's not enough talent in the top heavy part of the conference. It's very equal.
Here's the path. How this happens. Yeah, the parity is an issue, but let's just pull a team out of the hat. Let's go with Arizona State. Say Arizona State goes 12-0 in the regular season, or like 11-1.
Yeah.
Right, 12-0 or 11-1. Then they lose the conference championship game to whoever. Doesn't matter. And that team gets the automatic bid, and then they have to give Arizona State, because they're 12-1 or 11-2 and whatever. That's how it happens. I just don't see that happening. I see the winner of this conference, no matter what, having like 3 losses or 2 losses.
Probably. That makes sense. Which leads us into our next conversation, talking about the Big 12 preseason power rankings as of July 10th. Brett Yormark said, away with that. We're not doing that. But we are, because we don't work for the Big 12.
We don't work for the Big 12. Yeah, apparently the reason Arizona State didn't get a better seed is because they were seeded 16th in the preseason poll. It wasn't because they barely beat Texas State or that they lost to Cincinnati. It wasn't any of those things.
Yeah, it's because of their preseason ranking. So because this conference is absolute chaos, this is going to be wrong. A full guarantee by the time we get to December, January. This will be completely wrong. But based off last year with Arizona State being picked to finish last, that means that Houston, according to my poll, will win the Big 12. They're my 16th ranked team.
The fighting Willie Fritzes will win the Big 12. Yeah, probably not. All righty. Do you want to just go one by one for each spot and give each one of ours and then talk about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You have Houston, 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Why?
I don't really. Okay. Full disclosure. 8 through 6, or really
7 through 16 is kind of a crapshoot here.
7 through 16, I just kind of guessed, because how can you predict how a team is going to really do? How can you predict how Cincinnati is going to do in July as a TCU fan? That's pretty hard to tell unless you really know ball, which I admit I don't know a ton about these teams right now. I just don't go deep dive into college football and these Big 12 teams as much as other people do. So Houston sucked last year. I don't think they're going to do enough to do much better. So I have them at 16.
That is valid. I have Arizona at 16.
Okay.
Arizona, 2023. You remember 2023 Arizona? What a breath of fresh air 2023 Arizona was. They won They went like 10-3. They won the Alamo Bowl over Oklahoma. Everyone was like, look at this up and coming Arizona Wildcat program. And then the head coach leaves, but then all the players decide to stay. Head coach leaves. They're like, screw you, head coach. Players decide to stay. I think they were picked like 4th, maybe, in the last year's Big 12 poll. Maybe this is why Brett Romar decided not to do it. They were just so wrong in the Arizona schools that they were like, we can't do this anymore. We cannot do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It goes terribly. Despite having one of the best wide receivers in the country, I think he got picked 8th by the Panthers, Tetero McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
They finished 4-8. And they had like an exodus of players in the transfer portal. And I don't think it's going to go very well.
I have them at 15, by the way, so not much higher.
Yeah.
I knew it was not looking good for Arizona when half the questions were about Tet McMillan, who's no longer on the I'm like, I didn't listen to the whole interview because like they were playing the interviews, like the press conferences on big speakers, so I could overhear it. And every other word it felt like was Tet McMillan. So I'm like, guys, he's no longer here. Like he's on the Panthers. So yeah, not high expectations for Arizona. We'll see though. Again, if you're an Arizona fan, don't take this super seriously. We could be totally wrong.
Arizona State was picked in this exact spot in last year's official Big 12 preseason poll, and they won the league and they were a 4th and 14 away from winning against Texas in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So,
who do you have at 15?
I have the University of Central Florida Knights at 15. Okay. The vibes are very bad, at least coming out of the Big 12 media days. I might not have had them this low had Scott Frost not gone on an absolute tirade against his former employer.
Yeah. I don't have them much higher. I have them at 14. So I'm just moving all your teams up one. Not high expectations for UCF.
And last year was really, they started off pretty good. I mean, remember they beat TCU in what was just like a terrible football game for TCU, but they beat TCU and they had KJ Jefferson. And I honestly thought that it was going to be a fine season, maybe not the best. RJ Harvey was like a really exciting running back. Mm-hmm. And then the bottom fell out completely as the season went on. And then, Gus Malzahn leaves. And that roster feels pretty depleted to me right now. And I don't know if Scott Frost, I hope Scott Frost learned some lessons from his time at Nebraska, but I don't know if he did. But he's back.
He's back. Back and better than ever. So you had UCF at 15. I had UCF at 14.
Yeah.
Who's your 14?
This one hurts me a little bit, but I got West Virginia at 14. By your look on your face, you have West Virginia fairly higher than I do, or do you have them at 13?
I have them at 13. Okay, so Houston's just messing this all up because you have Houston higher. Okay, yeah. West Virginia, go ahead. What are your thoughts on West Virginia?
I honestly don't have a lot of thoughts. I honestly think they probably place better than this in the end of the day, because West Virginia always fights. Morgantown's a really tough place to play, and they always seem to just find a way to kind of be in the mix. Maybe not for a Big 12 championship, but for at least a bowl bid, right at the end of the season. Much like UCF, who got an old coach back, West Virginia got an old coach back. Rich Rodriguez is back in Morgantown, and unlike Scott Frost, Rich Rodriguez decided not to lambast his former employers at the podium. So the vibes are slightly higher.
Yeah, I think I kind of liked hearing Rich Rodriguez. He's pretty excited about this job at West Virginia, but I think it might take a little bit of time for him to build up a program that's going to go out there and compete. So, yeah, I have him at 13.
I have Houston at 13. Houston is finally here. I'm slightly higher on Houston, one, because I think Willie Fritz, out of all of the teams in kind of the bottom of the Big 12, Willie Fritz to me is by far the best head coach out of that bunch. Mm-hmm. So I have some confidence that he can build off of. I know last year was very disappointing, but he was not given a lot in year one in Houston. He got Connor Wegman to transfer to Houston from A&M. So Wegman's theoretically going to be the starting quarterback for them. And if he can stay on the field, he's not the best, but he's better than what they had. I don't think they do all that well 5-7 seems to be in the cards, but I trust Willie Fritz. I mean, if you can make Tulane a winning program, you can make anywhere a winning program.
That's fair. Yeah. Again, I don't know anything about Houston, so I could be totally wrong having them at 16 as a worst team in the Big 12.
But again, you mentioned like all these could be flip-flopped.
Exactly. Yeah, we all had them very close. Coming in at number 12, I do have Utah. They have been a team that has gotten a lot more excitement than I had realized. I feel like everybody was talking about their new quarterback, Devin Dampier. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. I mean, that's. I feel like so many people were talking about him and talking about Utah and how they're going to get back to what they were a couple years ago. And they obviously fell off a cliff last season. So again, take that with a grain of salt. Maybe Utah can be good this year.
Yeah, Devin Dampier, Big 12 newcomer of the year.
Yes.
For the preseason. So
yeah,
I have Utah a bit higher, so I'll talk about my Utah thoughts later.
So who do you have at 12?
Colorado.
Okay.
I got this is basically, me kind of put them in the middle. I don't know how this is going to go. They're going to have a quarterback battle between Julian Lewis and Caden Salter. Lewis, obviously a really big high school recruit, and then Caden Salter coming over from Liberty. I think Salter probably wins that job, but I have no idea. But the big question is, like, what does Colorado football look like post Travis Hunter to Drew Sanders? I have no idea.
Yeah, I could totally see them proving everyone wrong, and I think a lot of people are down on Colorado, but they're still getting a lot of attention. They were easily the most media coverage with Colorado at the even their players as well. There's a ton of people there, so we'll see. I do have them a little higher. Where are we at? 11?
11.
Okay. Yeah. I've got Cincinnati.
I do as well. Finally, we have the same.
Yes, Cincinnati at 11. I don't have any thoughts.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
They were not there yesterday. I just have them there.
I will say that this is kind of a make or break year for head coach Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. I do think that if it doesn't go well, that he's probably done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be interesting to see what Cincinnati can do, but again, I have no thoughts. Number 10, I've got Oklahoma State.
I do as well. Here we go. We're hitting our stride here.
We're heating up. Gotta imagine that they can do better than last year, right? Like they have to. There's no way that they repeat that disaster of a season in 2024.
They have to. And much like, even probably more so than Cincinnati, if this doesn't go well, are they going to fire Mike Gundy? Like that's kind of like where like this is at this point. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Oklahoma State was there yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was Haas Haney a part of the contingent?
Did not see Haas Haney, no. In fact, I didn't see any Oklahoma State players. I know they were there. I just didn't. Oh, yeah, there's only 3 players. They brought tight end Josh Ford, D tackle Iman Oates, and defensive back Cam Smith. They brought the fewest players to Big 12 Media Day, along with West Virginia, who also only brought 3 players. So that's probably why I didn't see him. But no, Haas Haney was not there.
He needs to do his thing.
Yeah,
I don't know what his thing is, to be quite honest with you, but go there and prove us wrong, guys.
Yeah. Okay, so we're out of double digits. We're moving up to number 9, where I do have Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think do the Buffaloes make a bowl game?
I think they do. I do think they do it. I think Dion, he really has not failed. And I mean, I know, what was it, that first year they did they make a bowl game their first year?
They did not. I
Yeah.
think they went 4-8.
Yeah. And I think that's probably going to be the worst season that I believe Dion's going to have at Colorado. I just have faith in him as a coach. I don't know him as, with this team in particular. Obviously, they lost a couple major critical players. But I'm looking at their Big 12 schedule. They do have TCU this year, BYU. They do have some pretty difficult opponents. They end the season with Arizona State and Kansas State. But I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I just like all of his success came with his son as the quarterback and one of the best two-way players we've ever seen. So it's just really I'm not saying that they're not going to be okay. It's just tough for me to see, what does a Deion Sanders coach team even look like without those two players on the field?
Yeah, it's true. It'll be very, very intriguing. Probably the biggest question mark in the Big 12, or one of the biggest. Okay.
Oh, we're at 9. Okay.
Oh wait, no, I think we're at 8.
No, I have Kansas at 9. I didn't say I had 9.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Kansas. Okay.
That's Kansas. I honestly think that they could probably be better than this. This is where I think 9 for me is where we reach the mumbo jumbo of the top.
Yeah, I had a really difficult time doing 6 through 9.
9 could be 2 and 3 could be 9, and it doesn't. I don't even know at this point. But Kansas, Jalen Daniels is back for his 40th year in college. Kansas is back home. Their stadium is done, I believe, with their renovations. So they're back in Lawrence. I think that hurt them a little bit last year, especially they played a lot of one-score games. And I think if you flipped their one-score game totals in conference, they would end up being third.
Wow.
In the conference, if you flip the results in one-score games. So they played a lot of tight games. They kind of heated up down the stretch, if you recall. They were playing some really good football. They ruined BYU's season, I think, and Iowa State's. I think they went into Provo and into Ames and beat them back-to-back weeks. I have a lot of confidence in Kansas, but not enough to put them in the top 8, I guess.
So who do you have at 8?
Iowa State.
That's where I have Iowa State. Yeah. Not much thoughts there, to be honest.
No, not a lot. I mean, Matt Campbell, trust Matt Campbell, but also like a lot of those players were old last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, I think with Iowa State, they're very developmental program, obviously. So once those players cycle out and you have to kind of start the process all over again, it can kind of be maybe a little bit time to reboot. And I think this might be a reboot year.
I agree. But you never know. Never know with the Cyclones. Best helmets at the Big 12 Media Day maybe besides TCU. Obviously, besides TCU.
Very good helmets. They were very good helmets. If you didn't see them, go look them up.
Yeah, they are sweet. Love those. All right, coming in at number 7, I have Texas Tech.
Alrighty.
Yes.
I got BYU.
BYU. Okay. Texas Tech is interesting because they spent a lot of money. So much money. I can't speak for the Big 12 coaches, but I don't think they're pleased with Joey McGuire. Although Dion was praising him a lot.
Well, so that's part of the course.
Yeah. Texas Tech. Look, obviously a great transfer class. Baron Morton returning at quarterback. I don't really know how to feel about him as a QB. I think he's okay, but
he's just so injury prone. He had another shoulder surgery this offseason.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Can he stay on the field?
That's the question. I don't know. I just think that a lot of people are going to have them high, and that's probably fair. And they might be one of the best teams in the Big 12, but I refuse.
Their
to give them-
schedule is easy.
Oh, it is.
It is. I don't have them much higher. I have them at 6. So, like, I also think it's maybe a little bit of fool's gold, with how much money they spent, right? This transfer portal class was not the greatest. Like, their class is good, but, like, of the players available, like, the best quarterback that came out of this transfer portal class was probably, like, Jackson Arnold. So, like, it's like, what are we even doing here? Like, how good is that at the end of the day? I will give them credit, right? Like, in order to compete in the top levels of college football, you do have to spend bukus of money. And so credit to them for, for those Texas oil billionaires putting their money where their mouth is. But I don't think it'll be enough. I have them at 6. I have BYU at 7. I would have had BYU higher had their quarterback not done bad things.
Yeah. So I have, this is where I have Kansas at 6. So BYU did crack my top 5.
We'll talk about them in a second.
Yeah. We already talked about Kansas. I'm pretty much on the same page with you. I think having their new stadium is going to help them a lot, honestly. And I just like the vibes with the Jayhawks. So we've reached the top 5, Seth. Who is your number 5 team?
The Texas Christian University Horned Frogs.
Same here. Yeah.
We could spend a couple of minutes here. I mean, we've already talked about TCU a lot. I think what's really as I was making this ranking, I just kept thinking about how last year's schedule was like built for TCU to make the Big 12 championship game. It was, given from the gods for TCU to go to the Big 12 championship game, and they blew it. And then now you get this year's schedule, and on paper, it's much more difficult. Still, though, I think the talent is there. Year 2 of Andy Avalos, Josh Hoover in year 2 is the full-time starting QB. I see the vision to a top 5 finish. And we're at the point in the rankings where if you're here, you could make the Big 12 title game, in my opinion. Like, we're in that range of, like, you could win the Big 12. I think, like, maybe 1 through 7 are in that range of, like, you are contenders.
And
so don't take this as being me discrediting TCU. They are a contender to win the Big 12 this year, for sure.
100%. Yeah. And I think having that experience on the defensive side of the ball is going to help. I love Josh Hoover as a quarterback. I think he's going to blossom into one of the best QBs in the Big 12 and maybe even the country next season. Really like where he's at. And the way I know people, I usually don't like to do this, but the way they finished the season last year gives me a lot more optimism that they are going to finish games this year, hopefully, and finish strong. And I think Sonny Dykes is fired up and ready to go and get this team to hopefully a Big 12 title game. But I have them at 5, and then I have BYU at 4. That was just a complete vibes pick. There is no thoughts or analysis behind that. I just think that BYU was good last year, and I think they're going to do that again this year. And it's a tough team to beat at their stadium, which TCU is going to BYU this year. So that's going to be a pretty fun and possibly a game with a lot of implications, potentially.
I just have hesitations, and I had them at 4 originally whenever I kind of was doing this exercise in my head prior to all the Jake Retzlaff news coming out. And now he's not going to be there anymore. And, I don't really know what their backup QB situation is, but, Retzlaff was not the best, but he was also like plenty serviceable. He won football games for BYU. He also maybe lost them or almost lost them a couple, but I don't know. It's just a lot of uncertainty there. So I kind of, pulling back on my expectations for them a little bit. But as you said, Provo, maybe one of the toughest places to play in the conference. And you cannot discredit that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we might have the same top three. Who is your third place finish?
Well, who's my fourth is Baylor.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to ask that.
I have
Okay.
Baylor at
Never
4.
mind.
We don't have the same top three. I know for sure we don't because one of my teams in the top three you had at like 12 or like 13.
It was Utah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have Baylor at 4. This one hurts a little bit, but in Sawyer Robertson, we trust. I think he's going to be really good this year.
I think he is too. And I know there are some people, some Baylor fans that I know, and this is to you in particular. This hurts to say as a TCU fan, but Baylor is going to be good. I think they are going to be very good this season. Again, the way they finished last year was really impressive. The way they dismantled TCU's defense in that game that Seth and I went to was heartbreaking to watch. But yes, Sawyer Robertson and Dave Aranda, we trust, I guess.
Also, Palmer Williams, all preseason conference punter for Baylor. Anyway.
Hey, how about that? Did they have any other guys on the all conference?
Yes, Bryson Washington, their running back.
Yes. I forgot
he's
that
going to be really, really good as well. And then Keaton Thomas, the linebacker, someone to keep an eye out for there down in Waco. But hey, Dave Aranda, I really want to give him a lot of credit for what he did last year because he was getting fired if that did not go well last season. And now he probably maybe bought himself like an extra year.
Yeah.
And I think they're poised to be really good. I have them at 4. You, I think, have them. Do you have them at 3?
I have them at 3, yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's, hey, hand claps for Dave Aranda, who I thought was a really good hire at the time, and then it didn't go so well, and now it's maybe going well again.
Yeah, here's the thing. I know I'm supposed to hate Baylor, and I don't like them. I definitely don't. But their fans made it really difficult for me to dislike them. They were so nice to us. They're like, hey, thanks for coming out. Like, it was a great game. What? Hello? What are you doing? No, don't do this.
They were. There was like several old men that came and shook our hands after that game.
Like, what are you doing? I'm wearing purple. Goodness.
Definitely going to go back to Waco and go to a Baylor TCU game at some point. That was a fun time.
Yes, and the game this year is going to be pretty exciting for sure. Yeah, a lot of people are big on Baylor to being one of the top teams in the Big 12. Yeah, I think they're going to be good. So, Seth, you have Utah at 3. And honestly, if I were to redo this list, I would put Utah higher. Apparently, I don't know what's going on here with Utah.
Well, listen. I'm not like I have Utah at 3, but
camp.
that is like a very like, hey, if you don't do well this time, then you're not going to be up there again, sort of thing. Like fool me once, But okay, I attribute a lot of the bad times last year to Cam Rising being the most injury-prone person ever. In their backup situation, it was what? What was his name?
Oh
it
my
was
God.
Zach Wilson's brother, right? Bryce Wilson.
Yes,
I think?
something like that. So bad.
He's so bad. And like they lost football games because their offense could not do anything because Bryce Wilson was so bad. Right? They lose. They probably beat TCU if that's any other person as the quarterback. But you mentioned Devin Dampier earlier. A lot of hype about him being in Salt Lake City. And since their quarterback situation is better, and since they are kind of always, I think, going to be better on the lines of scrimmage than most Big 12 teams, I have a lot of confidence that they can at least be in the mix here for a Big 12 title. That obviously is, health, if that stays the same, which it might not, as we saw last year with Cam Rising. But I have a lot of confidence. It's a good coaching staff, good fan base. Well, maybe not good fan base. Passionate fan base. tough place to play. I think they finish near the top.
You made some really good points about Utah, and I guess last year just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But I guess I didn't really. It was bad, and I did kind of forget about the injuries and the different quarterback changes. But we saw in that TCU Utah game, their defense was really stout for sure, and I don't know how many returners they have. I'm sure they have enough to where their defense is going to be solid. So, yeah. Utah could be really good this year. But again, this is all just speculation. We never know. But our top two teams are the same. The order, I'm not sure. Who's your 2 and who's your 1?
I have Kansas State at 2 and Arizona State at 1.
Of course, because I flipped mine. So Kansas State at 1, Arizona State at 2. That is the theme in our rankings. We are so close, yet so far.
Listen, it was very hard to, part of me was like, I can't put Arizona State at 1. They're not going to win the conference again. There's no way. And here's the thing. I don't think they probably don't win the conference again. No. They probably don't. But I just have the most – I mean, come on. They almost beat Texas in the college football playoff, and they had such a great end of the last year. And Kenny Dillingham is such a good coach, and Sam Leavitt is back, and Jordan Tyson is back. It's just tough, right? I think that they have a really good shot to be competitive again. I don't know if they can repeat the magic of last season. Again, much like many Big 12 teams, 1-score games fell in their favor. And if they didn't, then they probably don't, play as well. And we cannot forget that they almost lost to Texas State, and they lost to Cincinnati. So it's one of those things where last season could have gone one of two ways. It went a really good way for them. It could go a completely different way. They could pull a 2023 TCU and not even make a bowl game. But I have a lot of confidence in them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did this top 3 based off of quarterback. I think the 3 best quarterbacks in the Big 12. I do think Sawyer Robertson is slightly ahead of Josh Hoover. They're in the same ballpark. But I think Avery Johnson and Sam Leavitt, in my opinion, are easily the 2 best quarterbacks in the Big 12. Would you tend to agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I did it. But it's a coin flip. There's really not much of a I think Kansas State is definitively better than Arizona State. I just think these are the 2 best conferences, and Kansas State has probably been one of the probably the most consistent Big 12 team over the last several years. And I think that if I had to pick a team that I think could, go out there and do it, I think it's them. But it easily could be Arizona State.
Listen, it could be freaking West Virginia for all we know.
It could be. It could be.
This is a really tough exercise, and the fact that we even tried is I think that says a lot about our character, to be quite honest.
It does. And we were pretty close, on pretty much all the teams except Utah, and I think Kansas might have had the biggest gaps.
Yeah.
Or Houston maybe. But other than that, we were pretty close.
Very close. And I'd say that we put, besides Utah, all the teams kind of in the same tiers. Our bottom feeders are the same. Our contenders are mostly the same, and our kind of mid tier is mostly the same as well. And listen, we acknowledge that when this season ends, this is most likely going to be the most bollocks list that we've ever compiled.
Probably.
But we had to do it anyway. Because Brett Yormark said we couldn't. He said we shouldn't do it. And we were like, Brett, we have to.
Yeah, we have to. It must be done. We can maybe revisit this halfway through the season or right before the season starts. We're getting close to kickoff, getting closer and closer. It feels a long ways away, but it'll be here before we know it.
It's coming up soon. I mean, week 0 is August 23rd or something like that.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Iowa State and Kansas State are playing Farmageddon in Dublin to start the season.
Yeah. Yep. And then TCU will be taking on the Bill Belichick's of UNC.
Yeah. How you feel? Vibe check on that. Vibe check. Quick vibe check.
Well, I actually wanted to talk to you about the way, because I brought it up to the players, and they really did not seem to care to talk about Bill Belichick, which is fair, because I asked them, like, so you guys are facing Bill Belichick. Any thoughts on that at all? And Eric McAllister said under his breath, "We're playing UNC, not Bill Belichick." I was like, he didn't say that. I caught it in the mic, which is true. It's fair. That was more of a media type question than real. So it'll be interesting for sure. I'm glad the players don't really think they gave the answer that I hoped that they would, and it's just another game. It's not really anything crazy. So,
And I do think that is a bit of a departure maybe from, maybe the mindset going into the Colorado game a couple years ago. I do think if you had asked a lot of those players, they would have given an answer about Deion.
Yeah. And it was very mature answers from them. So I appreciated that. Totally. I think we can do it, though. I think we can start out 1-0.
And then we get the stupid week 2 bye again, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, God, I can't imagine Sonny Dykes is happy at all about that. That's ridiculous. Or any of the players. I mean, that's really annoying. I have a whole tangent about that. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. Don't like that at all.
It is what it is. Go beat Abilene Christian in week 3.
Although they do get 2 buys now, right?
Yeah, they'll get another one.
So, I think
they do. They did last year.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, they do. Yeah, end of October. I was looking for it. I'm like, yes, they do. They have a game on October 25th and then November 8th. So they'll have a week. That's a good time to get a bye. Okay. We are approaching almost the hour mark here, but I feel like it's a good place to stop here for this episode. Got a lot to talk about with Big 12 Media Day, preseason rankings. Next week, I think we're going to do an episode talking about revenue sharing, and kind of give my thoughts on it. We can both give our thoughts on that and what the Big 12 coaches were discussing there. If we were going to do that in this episode, we'd be on 2 hours. So
yes, there's a lot of thoughts about, because listen, the college football landscape is changing for the better, for the worse. Who knows? Stay tuned. But we'll talk about that next week.
Yes, very excited about that. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.